I'm Myke Shrews,
And I'm Tivis,
and you're listening to
the Munster Cast.
episode 11. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Munster Cast, where we talk about the Munsters, of course. If you haven't listened, thank you for joining us now. We are back from our Christmas break and New Year's break, I guess.
Holiday break, just all around break. Family, friends,
It's
each other, get away from it all.
we left for a few weeks there.
I gotta tell you, man, I felt like I had a feeling of a sneeze coming on during that intro, and then it just didn't happen, and I hate that feeling.
Oh boy! All right. Well, with that said, already,
welcome to everyone who has been, liking our Facebook page and stuff. It's great to see more people, honestly.
yeah, we love the growth.
Just interaction in general.
Yeah, of course. And with that said, too, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TheMunsterCast. We're also on YouTube, where you can see our pretty ugly faces doing this show every week at TheMunsterCast on YouTube as well. And then you can email us at themunstercast@outlook.com. Anything you want. If you want to tell us how we're doing, if you want to tell us a story about how you got into the Munsters, or your feelings on the Munsters versus the Addams family. Ooh. So yeah. With that said, Tivis, should we dive into this, or do you got something else for us?
Not this week.
Awesome. All right, let's get into this, man.
All right. Season 1, episode 20, Bats of a Feather, aired February 4th, 1965, written by James B. Allardyce. I swear I've got that correct before, but for some reason my brain's stopping. Tom Adair and Norm Liebman. Directed by a newcomer, Jerry Paris, who will go on to do 237 episodes of Happy Days, where he also has acting credits, and also Police Academy 2 and 3.
I love Police Academy movies.
Mm-hmm. Our guests this episode are Alvy Moore as Dr. Graham, who played Alan in Scream. I know you're a big horror guy. Alan Hunt as the second GI.
Wait,
Frank Gardner.
Was he playing Scream?
Alvy Moore played Alan in Scream.
Okay.
And then the next guest is named Alan Hunt, who played the second GI. Frank Gardner is the first GI, who will be back in a future episode. Why do they do this sometimes? They list the second before the first in the credits. Is that a commonplace thing?
Not sure.
All right, it's just bugging me. We have Barbara Babcock as Miss Guthrie, who will go on to have 2 different roles in the Green Hornet and many in Star Trek. Thomas McBride as Mr. Hazlitt, and this is his very last acting credit. I don't know if he retired or just got bored of it. But Sally Mills as the stewardess, Ronnie Dapo as the first boy, James Mathers as the second boy, which notice they did first and second there, but also James Mathers. This dude's career. I was so excited to talk about this guy with you because you will be really interested looking this guy up. He has worked with cameras. He's done electrical, cinematography, He's acted and directed. He directed 9 episodes of Beetleborgs and the cinematographer for the Mystic Knights of Tirnanog.
Ooh, nice. My kind of guy. I love all of those shows.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, oh, I was reading through this guy's list of accomplishments. And I'm like, oh my God. And then finally we have Gilbert Green as Mr. Brubacher, who was in shows like Hogan's Heroes, My Favorite Martian, Star Trek, Starsky and Hutch, Charlie's Angels, Magnum PI. So if you watched any of these shows and you pay attention to guest actors like this, you may recognize him because he was in a ton.
Oh yeah, there was a lot when I was watching this episode. I was just like, I recognize a lot of these people, but I couldn't put names to them. Like there was a lot of them. I was just like, who the hell is that? And then I did look up a few of them, but yeah, I was just like so amazed by how many recognizable faces I had seen in this one episode. It was 20, episode 20, correct? Yes.
Yep.
So yeah, I was just like, what? What is going on? At first I was just like, no, that's not. No. And then I looked them up and I was like, oh yeah, cool. So yeah, I enjoyed seeing a bunch of different people that I've seen in the past. Just now it's in the further past, but in the present, if that makes sense. Anyway, is that all you got for me then?
Yeah, that's all the guest list.
Awesome. And I am glad that you read the name of this episode before me, because I would have said Bats of a Father, because I wasn't reading it as diligently as I should have. So Bats of a Feather, as Tivis said, episode 20. Eddie needs an impressive pet to take to the school pet fair. When Igor the Bat gets insulted by one of Herman's wise cracks and flies away, Grandpa changes himself into a bat to impersonate Igor. Dun, dun, dun. And Tivis, if people are asking, well, what about Cat and Spot? Why didn't we take those instead of Igor?
Because there was a rift in the family about which pet was better.
So my first note in this, because we start off Cat versus Spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we open up on Herman and Lily arguing about which pet.
Right. Apparently Cat doesn't have a name. It's just called Cat.
I noted that as well.
Oh man. So yeah, let's dive into this episode, man.
So yeah, as I said, they open it. Which pet should Eddie take to the pet fair to try and win? And they asked Grandpa his opinion, and he's like, "Why don't you take Igor? He's smarter than either one of them."
Yeah.
During this exchange, though, I took note that Herman mentions Spot's the last of his species.
Yeah.
Is he a dinosaur, not a dragon?
Well, we will see him later, so we can decide later on.
We'll see him like almost immediately after. For the first time, we get our first look at Spot as he's hiding under the stairs, and it is much larger than they led on to believe in previous episodes.
Oh yeah,
but I think that's just because of the animatronic they had to use. And he shoots fire at them in protest because he doesn't want to go to the pet fair. So, they decide we'll go with Igor. And Spot will leave his when he's ready to look for someone. He's hungry or something like that. I'm tripping over my words. But I made note of that because I'm like, what do they mean, to feed him or to eat?
Both.
Yeah.
Seeing Spot was freaking awesome. Finally, because before this we've only seen shadows.
Yeah, I think only one shadow. No, we've seen it a couple times because it was when they answered the door and then up the stairs, I believe.
Yeah. Which, how did he get up the stairs? We're not going down that route.
How does he move around the house, period?
Right.
huge.
I think we see a glimpse of him move around the house in another episode. Like I've seen images on the internet before about it. Where we see his like tail going. Actually, I think we have seen his tail already go
We
into
may
the
have,
kitchen. Yeah. He's just one of those okay, well that's enough on Spot because he's only in this episode for like 10 seconds. So
a little bit more on Spot. It seems like the entire family is against Herman on It's His Good Pet. So they really don't like Spot.
Which is interesting because Eddie always seemed like that was like his best like buddy.
Yeah, he's the family dog.
Up till now. So and then I love that they had to do we didn't even see the cat, did we? I don't remember.
Yeah, he was right there on the couch. And he's like, it's just a normal house cat. And then it does the lion roar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So then we all decide we're going to take Igor out. Mm-hmm. And what does Herman say to Igor?
Oh, he insults him somehow. I don't remember exactly.
Right.
But, yeah. When Grandpa's in the dungeon, they have Igor resting on his shoulder. I'm like, oh, that's a cool effect. You know, it's like a parrot kind of. Yeah. They used a ton of smoke as Igor was flying out of the house to hide the wires and stuff. I'm like, this is way too much smoke. I've never seen that much come out of the dungeon before. Mm-hmm. But is it just me, or does Igor's like the sounds these bats make, does it not sound like a pulley system a little bit?
A what?
The pulleys they're using, like move them around. Pulleys. Yeah, because it sounds like a squeaky wheel to me.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they just did that on purpose so they didn't have to add in the noise later.
That was my exact thought, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It works. But I don't know how I didn't notice it before.
Because he's not really a major part in any of the episodes.
No, this is the first time he actually has a semi-major role to play, and it's pretty much just this. But he flies away in protest.
But it would be back to that. It would be a lot cheaper route for them to go.
Hang on.
Uh-oh.
Sorry about that. I had some computer problems.
All right, so with what we were saying about the pulley system, it actually makes sense because it would be cheaper than having Foley work done afterwards in post-production. Because for people that don't know what Foley work is, it's basically how they create the sound effects for movies and TV shows. So just making the gears or pulleys or whatever squeaky would work a lot easier. Just put a microphone next to that and let it go. Yeah. Anyways, so where were we at? This is when
Igor flies out the window,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Eddie is sad he has no pet to take.
Yeah.
Lily talks about how temperamental Igor is. Herman feels bad for insulting Igor, and Grandpa's like, hey, he could still take a bat. And like, wait, what do you mean? I'll just turn into one. You could pretend I'm Igor.
Yeah.
Herman, this is the first idea Herman's actually excited about. He's like, do it.
Yeah. This is also the first time we see Grandpa turn into something besides a dog or a wolf.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And the transition into it wasn't horrible. I don't think. Or wait, we saw him turn into a bat once before, haven't we?
I don't think so, because usually he just puffs in the smoke and vanishes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. So this time he puffed in the smoke but turned into the bat. And
no. He did. I remember because it was they botched his exit because you could see him leaving on the bottom of the screen in the smoke.
Okay. Yeah. See,
he went up the stairs.
So he has been a bat before, but this one we really see a lot more animatronic work, I guess. Polly works.
Yeah.
I don't.
Especially later on when they're in a brighter environment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you get him to turn into the bat, and he's a big ass bat. I feel he was bigger than Igor. Igor wasn't that big, was he?
I think they just used the same bat.
I felt like he was a lot bigger.
We'll see later on in the episode. Igor comes back, and I felt like it's just the same exact bat.
Maybe. Well, clearly they have more bats, so
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they lie to Eddie, and it's like, hey, here's Eddie, and Herman takes this opportunity to talk about how unintelligent Igor is, and to insult Grandpa when Grandpa can't say anything back.
Yeah. And then they put Grandpa in the cage.
Yeah.
And tell Eddie, oh, hey, Igor came back. And then Eddie just grabs Igor or Grandpa in the cage and walks off with him. And he's such a great human being who's not a human being. Like the way he acts.
Werewolf vampire kids.
I can't even say act. The way he behaves is just, why can't all kids behave as nicely and as politely as him? Like,
he's even like, where's Grandpa? I wanted to say goodbye to him. He's in the dungeon doing an experiment.
Right. And he's like, okay, well, goodbye, guys. I'll see you soon, or see you later. Bye.
Does that mean he takes the bus? We've seen him walking home before, so I guess he walks to school.
Yeah. I don't think his school is supposed to be that far from their house. So, plus it was the 60s. Everybody walked to school. Remember? Don't you remember the stories? I walked to school in this 5 feet of snow uphill.
Just in the short time I haven't been to school, they basically dropped kids off and picked them up out front of their house anymore.
The buses?
What's that?
Buses?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
I remember it was like, if you lived within a mile of the school, you were expected to walk.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know that was, close for some people before us, but now it's like, even if you live within that mile, the bus will pick you up.
That's crazy. All right. Anyway, geez, I'm already tired. Yeah. So Eddie is just a polite young man, but he takes off and goes to the school, and this is where we get a little interaction between Herman and Lily before we get into the school, but not a whole lot. So then we are going to the school fair where we're seeing all the other animals, which is like hamsters. I think there was a squirrel, some rabbits, everything you can think of. For little furry pets. And then for the principal, I guess, was the one who was judging this contest. Yeah,
there was also a teacher there, and she was less than pleased once Eddie reveals that his pet's a bat.
Right. He reveals the pet. And the look they gave him, it was funny. The principal goes, "Oh, what do we got here?" And he's like, "It's me, Mr. whatever the principal's name was." And he's like, "Well, I was talking about the animal, but," because he gave Eddie this weird look like, "Oh gosh, what did he bring?" So Eddie reveals the bat, and apparently this cage here doesn't have a top on it. The only thing keeping Igor / Grandpa in the cage was like a black sheet.
Yeah. It doesn't have a lid.
Yeah.
Or a top.
Which I thought it did when he left.
I thought so too. We did miss a comment about how Herman is worried Eddie will win because he knows Grandpa will be smug as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the interaction they had before they jumped into Grandpa was he was like, "Oh, because if he wins, he'll never let us hear the end of it." Yeah. So then Eddie says, because apparently this is a comp, like the animal thing is supposed to be for like the smartest animal.
Yeah, there's an award for the smartest.
And Eddie has like Grandpa is gonna fly around, or Igor's gonna fly around the room 2 times and then land back in his cage on command. He doesn't do that. Grandpa fails at being one of the smartest animals. I don't know how that's possible, but it's possible.
Yeah. The fact that he lost to a squirrel is quite hilarious.
Yeah. Well, they just kept having him fly around the room. I was just like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah. After this, Eddie comes home with the cage. He's like, oh, meet the most intelligent pet at the fair. And he pulls the sheet off and it's a squirrel. And Lily's like, where's the bat?
Yeah.
What did you do?
As soon as he was walking in, I was like, wow, that cage got a lot smaller this time. Yeah. I was wondering. And yeah, he's like, what'd you do? Where's Igor? And he tells him he traded Igor for the squirrel. Yeah. Which, by the way, Igor's not even his pet.
No. So is this a thing people used to do? Like, what? I don't understand, because my entire life, pets have always been part of the family. Like, they're family members.
Right.
You don't just trade grandma for another grandma for a weekend.
Right. It kind of reminded me of like, oh, here's the class pet, and you get to take this class pet home for the weekend or something. Not like, here's somebody else's pet, and it's a squirrel, and who has a pet squirrel anyways? So. Yeah. Oh, Grandpa got beaten by somebody who eats nuts.
So naturally, Lily is extremely upset at this news, tells him that was Grandpa, you moron.
Yeah. He doesn't say it like this. She doesn't say it like that, but yeah, she gets really pissed off.
And then Eddie reveals it was only for the weekend, Yeah. It's like, that makes it better. Well, turns out the other kid's just a piece of shit, because he sold Grandpa to his dad for 64 cents.
65.
Yeah. You're selling someone else's pet. Yeah.
And then the dad, not only does he buy the pet from his kid, but he flies it across country.
Yeah, to Washington, D.C. As we've established, they're in California.
We have established that, which we'll get to in the next episode we talk about in this episode too.
Yeah.
Because they've already established they're in California. So yeah, they have to take a flight across country once they find out that the dad who bought the animal from his kid for 65 cents. And it wasn't his kid, or was it like so?
He says he sold it or he bought it from his son.
Okay. What a shit ass dad.
What an asshole friend.
Anyways,
we cut to the scientist, which he's already in Washington, D.C. This plane is fast as hell. Talking to his scientist partner. I'm not sure which two characters these two are, but excuse me, they're like super happy that they got this thing for cheap, and they're like, we're sending it to space.
Yeah.
And Grandpa passes out as the bat, and they're like, I've never seen a bat pass out before.
I'm surprised Grandpa just didn't turn into his human form.
They comment about that.
Okay.
Lily goes, he can't do that within a small confinement.
Why not?
He'd hurt himself growing.
He did it in the not the last episode, but in the magic episode.
That was big enough for Grandpa to fit in. Grandpa can't fit in this bat cage.
Well, the cage would just break.
You'd think, but I guess not. Maybe his magic doesn't work on steel.
It's aluminum
or metal.
foil. Okay. Yeah.
Who
So
knows? He just can't do it.
Grandpa faints for some reason. Grandpa just faints in the cage. And
well, when you're there trying to do a good thing for your grandson, and then you're suddenly going to space, that's probably a lot to take.
He's a vampire, though. He'll be fine. Dracula in space. And no one ever watched that movie. That's how he got there.
So then we get the Munsters on a plane ride going to Washington.
I really enjoyed this scene for personal reasons, but also because it's just a good scene. Because again, we're finally episode 20. We're in episode 20 of it, and we're getting more shots of the Munsters, not just in their house, which is always good. Mm-hmm. Actually, in this episode, they're barely in the house at the beginning and at the end, really. Yeah. And there was there's only a few minutes where they're in the house in this episode, all together throughout the whole episode. And so seeing them in the plane was really cool for several reasons, show wise, but also personally. I worked on a short about Walt Disney years ago, and we built a 1930s train on a soundstage, almost exactly like that plane. Really? Just the same way they built that. You know, you have the oval shape, I guess, for the fuselage. Did I just say that word right? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm slurring words today, so I can't hear myself.
He's not drunk, I promise you.
No.
At least I hope not.
No. Wrong podcast, buddy. So I really enjoyed seeing that because it took me back to building that set and shooting on that set and everything, because they designed it the exact same way we did for that train. I mean, I guess I should say we designed ours the same way they did that shot, those shots back in the day. And we even had like a detachable roof so that we could get better camera angles and stuff, which you see them do that in this episode too with the same set. Because there are points where they get another camera angle where I'm like, there's no way you're getting a camera, because their cameras were a lot bigger back then than cameras are nowadays for people who picture cameras now. And no, they were a lot freaking bigger back then. So and a lot more people manning one camera. I mean, still nowadays, you still have 2 to 3 people sometimes manning one camera. So just imagine back then on the bigger cameras. So yeah. But yeah, that was
I'd never heard that story before. That's cool.
Yeah. But that was my thought process when I was watching. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And it just took me back to that time in my life when we shot that movie. And that was before Disney did their backstory on Walt Disney. We did it first. Thank you very much. It was called Dreamer. You could probably find it on YouTube somewhere. Anyways, Disney, don't sue us. Yeah, so that was my story on that one. But I did love seeing the Munsters again in a plane in something not their house. Yeah. In something that doesn't necessarily look like the Munsters would necessarily be there. So it's always cool.
And Herman's excited as hell he mentions this is his very first plane ride, which does that mean they took a boat from Transylvania?
Probably, if it was years before when they didn't have, necessarily airfare and stuff like that beforehand. But it's his first time on an airplane, and yet he critiques the shit out of the stewardess. He's like, I don't think she's going to make it as a stewardess.
Well, first he freaks out because the propellers are gone.
Yeah.
Eddie has to explain to him that it's a jet plane. Right. They also comment that when they got on, all the other passengers got up and left. The flight attendant had to be shoved on board with the door closed in her face.
Yeah.
And at that moment, they say this, she comes out shaking like a leaf with their cart of food, like just throwing them their boxes. And Herman's like trying to be nice. He's like, don't worry, we'll be fine. It's a jet plane.
Yeah. It was funny to watch this entire sequence play out, because it's like at times I felt Herman was being very facetious to the stewardess, but then she comes out, he asks for some salt, and she like brings a little salt packet out and just throws it at him. and she turns around and we see she's wearing an entire parachute set because she's about to dip. Like, I'm like, these people aren't doing anything wrong or anything bad, they just look different, and you're being scared and literally going to jump out of a plane because you don't want to be around people that look different. I mean, I don't know what that says about society, but it has to say something.
Yeah, I think it does very well. Oh, I forgot about the parachute.
I was surprised they didn't have her jump out and then have Herman look out the plane and say something like, "Oh, there goes the stewardess. She must have wanted some fresh air." Yeah. Anyways, moving forward. Then after that scene, we get Herman looking back out the window and pointing, but the audio goes silent, of course, and then they cut to the scientists again.
Yeah, and Grandpa is still passed out, and the scientists put a female bat next to him, who I think's named Chloe.
Yeah.
And they're like, "This will wake him up. They can get to know each other before their trip to space."
Very there's a lot of references to mating in this episode.
Yeah, because after they leave, Grandpa wakes up, and we get more of the pulley squeaking noises as the Chloe begins to flirt with Grandpa, and he's having none of it.
At first, I thought it was going to be like a circumstance where she was also a vampire, which would have been interesting to see. Yeah. But yeah, it was funny because she's just like hitting on him, and he's like, "Nope, we're not doing this today."
Back off, you old bat.
And then we go outside to the MPs, the military police, standing outside, and they're just talking, and the shorter younger guy, he looked very familiar. I couldn't figure out who he was though. But he looked very familiar, and he also it seemed like their audio was off, so I think they did some ADR work with him. Second GI, so it was either Alan or Frank Gardner or Alan Hunt. I don't know which one it was though. But
the one who comments it's his first day on the job.
Yeah. So that would probably be the second one then. Oh, he was in Charmed? Interesting.
Yeah, I saw that, but I didn't know if should mention
it. So they're talking about how they do secret experiments in here, and that they don't want to know what they do in there. Like, have you ever seen those? Have you ever seen anything that they do? And like, I don't even want to know. Like, I'm better off not knowing. Very Roswellian. Like, I just don't want to know what Area 51 is actually doing. Like, I could imagine like the MPs and shit like that being like, I don't want to know, because then something could happen later, and then I just don't want to know. So then the Munsters pull up to the restricted station or building, or what is this building actually?
Some research center.
Okay.
And they're outside, and Herman's like, hey, I'll just go up and ask him. Like, you can't just walk inside of a government building,
right? Well, first they said they had a rental car. They had to do a rental car, and again, the reasoning behind this is because everyone dipped on them. No taxi would stop for them, or taxis would stop and get out of their cars and run away. Like, just keep driving. Like, why would you?
I was in Washington, D.C. just a couple years ago. You don't have to be the Munsters for this to happen. Everyone there is like, it's a weird ass place. Traffic sucks. You can't get anywhere.
Yeah.
If you ever go there, spend the extra cash to get up close, because you're going to be parking like an hour away.
To get where?
To visit any of the stuff in Washington, D.C.
Just walk around.
It's what you're going to have to do. You got no choice. Unless you want to pay $70 to park for like 3 hours.
That's a place I'm avoiding right now. It doesn't seem like a smart idea to go there. But I do want to go. I've never
talk about an expensive tourist trap. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. I want to go to all the museums. So I think that's the main thing, though.
Yeah. Dude, you're going to have plan to be there for a week and a half, because we were there for 6 days. We saw like 4 buildings.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't leave the Munsters in DC to do an episode of them going to like the Smithsonian or some shit.
Would make sense. They had that one of them going to that research place that I'm forgetting the name of.
Oh, the sequel. It was like a SeaWorld kind of.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't remember what it was. I know what you're talking about. I don't know if that's an official episode though.
No, it's like cross promotion. Yeah, but the footage is lost, so unfortunately, we won't be able to talk about that beyond what we're doing now.
Yeah, if people want to see some of that footage, you can go to YouTube and just type in Munsters at like SeaWorld or some shit like that, and you can see some footage. There's not much of it there.
Marineland Carnival is what it is.
That's what it is. Marineland. Munsters at Marineland. And then you can find it. There's like how long is this video here? A 1 minute video.
Yeah.
Or is that my ad? No, that's the ad. The video.
I thought it was like at least 10.
Oh yeah, no, the video's still 1 minute. Yeah, it's just a minute video.
That's disappointing.
I'm sure you can find some other stuff. There's the 1991 Lost episode documentary that you can find. We're getting way off track, by the way. So let's dive back into the episode. So Munsters pulled up. They say they had to rent a car because the taxis all took off. And Herman gets out and says, well, I can talk to them and get in.
Yeah.
And this was after the MPs were already saying, we don't want to know what experiments they're doing in there. And Herman walks up to them and was like, I need to, he says something.
He was very polite. He's like, I'm here. Could you please point me in the direction of the science lab, please, or something like that? And they're like, oh, we'll just take you there.
Okay.
He's like, you guys are really friendly.
Right. Okay. And they take him in, and he walks into the science lab where the 2 bats are sitting, and the scientists and the scientists, and he scares the shit out of these scientists that they literally fall through a glass window. I don't know what that window went to because they just stood back up afterwards. So it was just a glass wall, I guess. because it didn't look like outside either. And if it was outside, that's a very non-secure building. So
he's looking at, Igor and Chloe, and he's like, there you are, Grandpa. I need to take you home. So he picks up the bat and he starts walking out.
Yeah.
Which bat did he grab, Myke?
He grabbed Chloe, man. He did the gag that I thought he was going to do a few episodes back when we talked about Grandpa turning into the wolf at the campground, which I think was like episode 16. I want to say, yeah. So episode 16, Grandpa turned into the wolf, and I thought they were going to run this gag then. So it's a good thing they didn't, because doing it twice in such a short time period would have been annoying. So he did it with the bat, and it works. I think this one works for this episode because you still have a way for Grandpa to get out. Herman takes off with that bat, and then they come over, and we did forget to mention that the rocket ship thing that they wanted to send Grandpa on not necessarily is going to return.
This is more like early Sputnik type stuff.
Yeah. So, and they're like, well, we don't need the bat to return. It's just a stupid bat. So they're like, well, we don't need both bats. All we need is one bat for right now. Even though they think that Herman is a creation from another lab in the same building too. And they think that he just took the bat just to mess with them. Like he was programmed. I think they thought he was a robot or something.
Yeah. They're like immediately in denial of what they just saw.
Yeah. Yeah. So they think that they set him up to just come and mess with them and take the
Can I just say,
mess with them.
I loved the effect of them crunching on the glass as they come back into the lab. They could have easily just had that cleaned up, but no, they actually kept it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty cool. So then we get, this is the whole segment is in, this whole sequence is in the lab, pretty much until the end. And well, the lab, the secret base, I should say. Not very secret. The Munsters just drove up to it, but okay.
The scientists are there talking, and Grandpa, as the bat starts wiggling all around, making all kinds of noises, and like, well, what's it doing? If I had to guess, if it was a person, I'd say it's having a tantrum.
Yeah.
Like that is just extremely true to Grandpa's character.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they
I loved this part, by the way.
They grab him out, and what was it that they said he'll do?
Here, I'll show you the amazing radar sense of a bat. It'll fly at that wall without hitting it.
And Grandpa just gadoosh right into the freaking wall. This would have been a great time for him to turn back into a human. But no, Grandpa, they I don't know how the scientists didn't laugh for that one. Like they should have laughed.
It's kind of like, well, that happened.
And then they walk over to get him, and then Grandpa the bat bolts out of the room.
He takes the opportunity to go out the door.
It flies around the corner, and they run after him, and Grandpa's there in humanoid form.
Yeah, they lose it, but luckily, Grandpa's there. You guys looking for a bat? It went that way.
They don't question Grandpa at all as to why the hell he's there, who the hell he is, and why do you look the way you look and dress the way you dress. The scientists don't. Grandpa walks out, and the MPs see him.
He walks out like he owns the place. He's like, hey, you mind calling me a cab? I gotta get home. I'd fly, or I gotta catch a flight. I do it myself, but I've had a day. Yeah.
And they comment about how he's like, a special person for a special scientist or some shit, like a VIP kind of person. But yet they thought Grandpa they thought Herman was the creation, not Grandpa. We all remember from watching the family portrait episode in color that Grandpa doesn't necessarily look that much different either. So
No.
super blue and everything. So yeah, they call him a flight home, and then we get into the Munsters' house, and then we go from there, and we ended up. You want to close us out?
All right. So the family they're back home. They're trying to get the bat to turn back into Grandpa, and not understanding why he's not changing back. Grandpa walks in. He's like, "What are you guys waiting for?" I'm like, "Oh, we're waiting for you to turn back into yourself." It takes him like a moment, and then like, "Oh, wait, what the hell? Who is this?"
Oh no, like, no! It was even funnier because they were saying he, and Grandpa says she, and they're like, we know, we know all that. Like, no, it's a he. We know what we're doing. Did you say that?
No.
Okay. You're looking at me like I just fucking said that.
No.
But yeah, they do the he she thing, and then they all, like Tivis said, they all like realize, oh, Grandpa's here, and they all do this like slow look up, which we still use today in comedy. I'll tell you that. They just do this like, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. So that gag still isn't old, apparently. Well, because they still use it. So, yeah. Usually they use it. They're like, oh, he's dead. No, he's dead. And then they show up. But yeah.
Grandpa's like, Herman grabbed the wrong bat.
Yeah. And then we end. That's how we end this episode.
Well, at first I was like, I don't want to go to the moon. Then Igor comes home, and he's immediately flies to Chloe.
Yes, I forgot about this part. Yeah,
and Eddie's like, "What are they talking about?" And Grandpa's like, one moment he leans into Herman. He's like, "Maybe you should tell the kid about the bats and the bees."
Yeah.
And that's when the episode fades out. Well, he's trying. No, I'm sorry. Herman doesn't understand what he means, so as he's explaining to Herman what he's talking about, it fades out.
Yeah. This was a scene where their makeup was, you could really see the black in their nose that makes their nose thinned out and stuff. I had never noticed it until this episode, so I just wanted to point that out.
We didn't really get as close to their faces as we do in this one that often.
Right. They did a nice close up on them. And yeah, so then we fade out. And final thoughts on episode 20.
This was just a fun one.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can't imagine why anyone would be skipping around with these, but if you're not watching them with us, this is one I highly recommend. Go watch. It's just fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. So
why? What am I out of space for?
Don't worry about it. I got you.
All right.
Tivis and his technical difficulties. I got you, dude. Don't worry about it. All right. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode, and I really want to see more episodes like this one. It's interesting too, because we keep talking about grandpa centric episodes. This is, but without Al Lewis in it, really. Like, he's in this for what, 2 minutes tops in the whole episode? At the beginning and at the very end. And that's probably, it rounds out to about 2 minutes. But it's still a grandpa centric episode because we're seeing him. And if you've watched and understand grandpa's personality, you can picture it within the bat's mannerisms and fits, as Tivis said, and stuff like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. So let's have more episodes like this. As I say, for a show that's been canceled for decades. All right, so
we still got quite a few to go.
Yeah, let's dive into episode 21.
Well, hang on, I got a couple trivia for.
Oh, trivia.
Let's see. The title of this one is based on the old expression "birds of a feather, flock together." If you didn't already guess that. And apparently, this has been around since at least the 16th century and used to be known as birds of one kind and color flock and fly always together, which, in my opinion, is not as catchy. If you watch during the lineup, James Mather's second boy, when they're in the science fair, he's constantly changing positions during the shots. And of course, I didn't notice this, but apparently, and I believe it at the end, you may have, when they're in the lab and stuff, you can really see the strings on the bats. And weirdly enough, it's also very prominent with Igor at the end when they're in the house for some reason.
I'm not sure if they changed up strings or what they did between the first few episodes and this episode. But this episode, you can really see the string work. Not as bad as you could in the colored episode, in the colorized episode. But you could definitely see them for sure. I think the more light too in the lab had something to do with that.
Yeah, definitely, because they use lighting to hide this stuff even today. So I'm sure it was very needed back then.
Yeah. You mean they don't CG it all nowadays, Tivis?
A lot of people do, but
I did like if you watch BTS stuff for WandaVision, the first 3 episodes, they did a lot of string work like this too. So, which was pretty cool. All right.
If you haven't seen that show, they went way out of their way to recreate these old shows, including building a set the same way they used to, rather than by today's standards.
Yeah. So let's move on to episode 21, man.
All right. And I apologize if I sound weird now. Season 1, episode 21. Don't Bank on It. Aired February 11th, 1965. Written by a newcomer, Douglas Tibbles.
That's not the name of the episode, sir.
Not?
It's Don't Bank on Herman.
Oh my God, you're right.
And this is why we have 2 people on the episode.
Don't Bank on Herman.
There we go.
This was written, like I said, by newcomer Douglas Tibbles. Norm Liebman and Ed Haas were also involved. Doug wrote for other shows such as The Andy Griffith Show and Bewitched. And this was directed by Ezra Stone. The guests in this one are Maurice Manson as Mr. Grover, Pitt Herbert and Mr. Williams, who has also been in shows such as Batman Lost in Space and The Brady Bunch. Whoops. I did not put who this person played, so I'll skip them for now. Jack Bernardi as Scotty Duzick, and he appeared in Perfect Strangers, which is a show I recently discovered and don't know how I didn't know about this for majority of my life. Audrey Swanson as the Woman Teller, which this is her final acting credit.
Really?
A lot of people ending their careers with this show.
What's that got to say about the show?
High note to go out on?
Right.
Okay. Mousy Garner as Fingers Malone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which I think his real name sounds more gangster than
Paul Gardner, not Mousy.
No, just Paul Mousy Gardner sounds more gangster than Fingers Malone. And when I say gangster, I mean like old time, like mafia gangster type guys.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't. Don't hurt me.
Well, look back at old actors. They're either comedians or other stock. So we open up with Meryl, who's laying on the couch as Herman and Lily take her temperature. And she's got a fever of...
I got to read the synopsis, bro.
Oh, you're right. Jeez, I'm jumping ahead. Man.
All right. So episode 21, don't bank on Herman. Not it. As Tivis said. When Herman and Grandpa go to the bank to make a withdrawal, they are instead mistaken for bank robbers and handed $18,000 in cash. Which, what does that translate to today?
I could tell you. I got it. 1,606,850.38.
Shit. All right. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, you can see why Herman is excited as we go into this.
Right. All right. Moving forward now.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, we open up, as I was saying, with Meryl laying on the couch. They're taking her temperature, and she's got a whopping fever of 98.6. And she's like, isn't that normal? And Herman goes, oh, no. No, we average around 50. These people are going to kill her.
Yeah.
Eddie comes in, and Herman is yelling the symptoms at Grandpa, who I thought at first was making a potion. But turns out he's doing magic from the dungeon. As Meryl begins floating above the couch, and Lily tells her to just forget it. And Meryl just falls onto the couch with a ton of dust going everywhere.
Yeah. It was, I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on.
Yeah. Look, this honestly has nothing to do with anything else in this episode, so I don't get what was going on.
Well, yeah, it sets up. It sets up why Herman has to go and do what he goes to do. It does. So after this, we see this happening. Well, Marilyn was the one that was supposed to go to the bank, but Marilyn is sick, so Lily's staying home with Marilyn to take care of her and sending Herman to the bank to get the money from the tax account. I've never had a tax specific account, but okay. I think the Munsters are really wealthy and really well off. And
I took to mean like, they owe every year when it comes to tax time.
I guess maybe they don't pay taxes throughout the year, so they have to withhold their own taxes.
Maybe. I don't know.
I have to do that crap, so I know. But yeah, that's the setup for the episode. Is Marilyn's sick, she can't do it, and then they send Herman to go and do it for them. Moving on.
We get our intro and stuff. Lily tells them, you got to go to the bank. She warns, like, make sure to get this amount. You come straight home. Don't do anything else.
Right.
And at first I'm like, is she worried her husband's an idiot? But then I realized Grandpa's going with him. Yeah. Okay. This is a needed warning.
Well, she also writes the check for him specifically. Signs it, does all the things, writes the slip. What are those slips called? Withdrawal slips. Yeah, I never fill those fucking things out. I make the tellers do it.
Oh, if you want anyone who's ever tried to put a check into their bank, if you want a nice little trick to not have to have that waiting period, have them cash it and then immediately tell them you want to deposit it. They get mad, but it's a workaround.
I guess it works.
Yeah. So we cut to the bank and you have a teller walking up to the manager, and the manager tells them, "Hey, there's some robbers in town who are wearing or escaping by wearing disguises." Man, the Munsters cannot catch a break. So, just after that scene, we get Herman and Grandpa strolling up.
There's a lot
to the
of
bank.
robbers in their town, by the way.
Well, it's California, land of the rich and famous. So,
I guess the wealthy rob us all blind.
I forget how the rest of that song goes. Right. So yeah, Herman and Grandpa arrive.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And
they go inside. What's that?
Well, she says, just say you want this much, all the money from this account, because it's from their tax account.
Yeah.
They go inside.
Herman almost smacks his head on a light fixture.
Yeah.
They go up to the teller, this woman, and she immediately is staring at them like, oh, good God. Herman then asks for all the money.
He does now. They did pay attention. He does sit the withdrawal slip down.
Yes, he does.
and the everything else, but he just is like, I want all the money. Give me all the money.
Yeah. Grandpa doesn't help by saying, if you could put it in a bag, it's a lot to carry.
Yeah.
So she just hands him a giant sack of cash that he doesn't see anything wrong with. And they politely leave, telling everyone as they go to have a wonderful day.
Yeah, it's great setup. Very great setup. I enjoyed this setup.
Can I just say I learned something from this scene, though?
What?
Herman makes a comment about hipsters.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize hipsters were around way back then.
I think they were just hippies, and they call them hipsters.
Yeah. Well, I learned something today. But it was a great interaction. It's like, why can't you just say, can I have the money from my account?
Which is funny that they would be making fun of hippies then, because that's probably where a lot of their audience was.
In the 60s?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like they were mostly out, not wearing shoes, playing guitar on a beach, listening to Occultist.
They weren't all Manson family people.
There was more than just him.
I know. All right. Anyways, enough with the history lesson.
Yeah. So they get home and Herman's counting it out. And she's like, so how much did you get? He's like, 183,000. Like, really? From our account that only had 680.
18,300. Not 183,000. That's a lot more.
Correct.
That's a lot more. And she's pissed off too.
That means my number's off.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me convert that real quick, and you can continue on.
Lily is pissed off, and we did. I think we skimmed over it, but at the beginning, I noticed in this episode, Lily is very angry. She is rude about Grandpa's magic and basically says fuck it, and then Herman does this, and she is just completely rude and just calls him a dumb idiot.
Oh, she is mad.
She is super mad, super, I don't know, abusive in a way. Just says he like fluffs it all up. He always screws it all up. And yeah, that's about it. And
okay,
then,
I got the actual today's value. It is not $1 million. It is only 160,685.04.
Okay. I was gonna say
still a large chunk of money, but not as much as I originally thought.
Right. Okay. All right.
But yeah, so and you know, I can't really blame her. The fact that Herman screwed this up so badly.
I mean, she could have went and done it herself.
Yeah, she could have, but she's got shit to do too. You know, what's he doing? Herman begins crying. And I can't help but feel like this is his way of getting out of trouble. Because, you know, we all know how to get out of trouble with our significant others if we've been with them long enough.
I guess.
Kind of diffuse the situation so they're not as angry, at least.
Right.
And I can't help but feel like this is him playing that card. She's like, just take the money back. It's fine. You made a mistake. And he's like, okay, but can I play with it first? And she gets pissed with him again.
Yeah. She does not really enjoy. I think she's with Herman for the money, man. And the nice house. She's only with him because they have a kid.
So that night they're trying to sleep because the bank is closed at this point and he has to wait till morning.
Yeah.
He's in his sleep counting the money and then talking about what he's going to spend it on and then trying to tell the women to leave him alone. And that's the point where she like, hold on, wait a second.
Right.
He's like, I'm drowning in money. And so she grabs the water pitcher next to the bed and she's like, oh, I'll drown you.
Drowning. Oh,
pours it on his face.
Well, it's because he started naming specific women too.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
So don't do that.
Like he was asleep though.
Control your
You can't control your subconscious.
Yes, you can. Figure it out. I did want to go back to one of my notes real quick because I just saw it.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, when Grandpa's screwing up, she says Grandpa should give up medicine or take a practice in California. Because he's that was a big dig at the California medical. But also, I thought they did live in California. So that was my thought. I was like, wait, they are in California, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
And then, of course, my other note was she's just fucking pissy in this episode to both Herman and Grandpa. So,
oh, she's mad.
Yeah. So she dumps the water on Herman and then she's just like they argue. But then she's just like, I'm dead. I'm going to sleep. I'm dead. And then she literally just bloop.
That's what I'm like. Did she just force herself to die? Because we know from past episodes that she has died before.
Right. So and then Herman can't go to sleep. So he's like, screw it. I'm going to go return the money now. And then he gets Grandpa. And why?
Of course he does.
Taking Grandpa. Grandpa causes half these issues. They go down to the bank. He literally breaks the bank door down.
Well, before that, Grandpa electrocutes himself to turn off the alarm.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just some shocks.
And
we forgot to mention he was sleeping with the money under his pillow.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a safe spot. Probably
I guess.
His brain's gonna fall out again. Or no, his head. What was his head? What was it? It was his head.
His skull.
Head comes off.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna end up having to make this bank pay for more damages than they're returning at this point.
Yeah. So they break down the front door. They go over and find the safe, and Herman breaks the safe timer off. And Grandpa's just like, oh yeah, just change it to the time it's about to be in like 1 minute. And how did they change this timer? Because it looks like he just like changes it like a freaking alarm clock.
That's exactly what he does. He's like, I wonder if these things are just like an alarm clock. Then he rips it out of the door wall, the vault door, and just begins turning it.
Yeah. And then they get in the vault and they realize it looks really nice in that there vault.
Yeah, Grandpa feels right at home. It reminds him of the crypts.
And then they set the money down and they're looking around for a second. I'm not sure why. And they hear the door close. So once the door closes, they're both like, did you hear that? It sounded like the front door or the side door, the back door, the only door. And they run over, and Grandpa just disappears when they run over to the door. So there's clearly no door on that set piece there. But he just like runs in through, and what was I saying? Oh, and Herman's just standing there, but like Al Lewis just runs through the thing. So I'm like, maybe there's a little hallway, who knows? And Grandpa starts like, we're never gonna get out of here.
Yeah,
he just sits his ass down.
Freaks out. And Herman just sits down to wait it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grandpa's like, what's wrong with you? Then we cut back to the house and we see that we've seen this before, that hallway of doors. Mm-hmm. We've seen Eddie's room. We've seen the Herman and Lily's room. We've seen the guest room. We're finding out which one of those doors is Marilyn's now. And I believe it's right across the hall from the guest room. Judging from past episodes. And Lily's like, Herman's missing and Grandpa hasn't slept on his slab today. And she's like, I feel real bad about, being mean to Herman earlier. I don't think she ever realizes that Herman went to go return the money. She's just, like, oh, he must be upset that I yelled at him.
Right. Yeah. They
and tried to drown him.
Where he's at all. And I don't remember. So full disclosure, this is the part where I fell asleep.
All right. Well, I got you covered. We cut back to the vault.
I kept shutting my eyes, I should say. I didn't fall asleep. I was tired, guys.
So, yeah. So for the listeners to understand, Myke is a real man and he's been pretty much building a house from the ground up. So he's been busy.
I apologize, and it won't happen again though, because I want to be able to give more input. So I do know. So they go back to the bank.
Yeah, correct. And it's Herman just standing in the vault. Grandpa's gone, and he's like, "Wait."
They were trying to beat the door down for a minute too.
What's that?
They tried to beat the door down too for a minute, right? Or no, that was before they got
not quite yet. But Herman wonders. He's like, he thinks he's alone now, and Grandpa just turns out to be behind him.
Yeah, he's like, Grandpa, and then he turns, and Grandpa's like turns out from behind him, and it's like, okay. I do like that Grandpa mentioned it's a solid steel vault. So it's not like you can be like, oh, Grandpa, you can turn into something and go out there and change the locker, you know. So at least we know there's no way to get out of there. But eventually the air would run out, and as much as they want to say they don't need air, they've clearly stated that Grandpa needs air.
You might have slept through this part, but so after that, they find a phone on the wall.
Yeah.
And they pick it up in an emergency line. And
call 911.
If I didn't know they were in California, I would think they're in Detroit at this point, because if you think this operator is a bad at emergency calls, these literally happen in Detroit. Like I live near there and I hear some horror stories, and you can find the audio online.
Yeah.
They're real bad at their job. But this lady is extremely unhelpful. Herman's like, we're trapped in here. Could you just call the cops? You have to call them direct. It's a local number. He's like, well, I don't have the phone book. I'm trapped. She's like, well, here's the number you call. So he tries to get Grandpa to help him remember it so he can call. Then, of course, Grandpa.
Well, Herman's saying the number over and over and over.
Yeah. Shit, we missed a good joke callback. When they first go into the bank, Grandpa goes towards the vault door, and Herman's nowhere to be found. He's over at one of the desks trying to fill a fountain pen, and Grandpa's like, we don't have time for that. So now that they're in there, Grandpa's like, well, give me something to write it down with. He hands him the pen, and it's not right. He's like, it's empty. He's like, you didn't let me fill it. But yeah, so as Herman's dialing it, Grandpa begins saying a bunch of random friggin' numbers, and Herman forgets it.
Yeah. And then Grandpa ends up having to do it because Grandpa does remember it.
No. He calls the emergency number back, and he's like, lady, there's no air in here. We're going to die.
Which is false and true at the same time. It just depends on which episode you're in.
And she just doesn't give a shit. Just like Detroit.
And then we start seeing the it's Fingers Malone, correct?
Yes, at that point first Herman just plain breaks the phone. I don't know why he does that. He just does.
Yeah.
And then the real robbers arrive at the bank. Okay. And I didn't notice when they entered. Were you conscious during this? Did they enter through the broken door or the door that Herman didn't break?
They walked through the front door.
Well, it's a double door. He broke the one.
I don't know if they opened the one that was swinging.
Yeah, because I was wondering if he fixed it by putting it back, or
maybe. I don't know if he fixed it, but they walk through the door and they come through the teller's area of the bank, and walk over to safe. But don't they start hearing noises?
Yeah, they start drilling into it to place the dynamite to blow the door off, and Grandpa's like, "We're saved." And the whole time I'm like, they're going to place an explosive. You guys really shouldn't be standing on the other side of the door. I was expecting, to have the cartoon look of, they got hit with the blast as they came out. Right. But no, the robbers bust the door off. They walk out and they're so happy to be rescued. And the robbers are like, holy shit, what is this?
Nighttime security, man.
Herman goes and gives them a hug, and they just fall unconscious. And he's like, oh, well, maybe we should just get out of here. Oh, no, because Grandpa realizes, hey, these guys aren't the police. Why are they here? It's like, we should probably leave.
Get the hell out of there.
Yeah. It's just this whole sequence at the bank. It's these were a good couple episodes.
It's just
like,
goofy ass. Like, yeah, it was fun. And the two robbers, they get arrested, correct?
Yes, because then we cut to the family sitting at the table. I don't know if it's breakfast or whatever, but Herman is Grandpa is reading the headlines while Herman is helping Lily with the dishes like a real man. And he's reading, he's like, there's the robbers were captured unconscious with the help of two unnamed citizens, and there is a reward for their help if they were to come forward. And Herman's like, nah, we don't need that. Just doing the good thing is reward enough.
Right.
And then he stares at himself. He looks at his like frying pan, and he sees his reflection, and it cracks. And for some reason, that upsets him, but the mirrors don't, and he just punches it. And that's how we close the episode.
Yeah, I was confused too, because I was like, was it a glass pan? I was like, what? Why did it crack? Yeah, so my final thoughts on this episode, it was good. I liked it. I liked the humor. Even though I was falling asleep, it had nothing to do with the episode.
You're just exhausted.
It's just exhausted. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And when I say I fell asleep, I just closed my eyes for parts here and there and realized, oh shit, you do that wake up thing. Yeah, I enjoyed this episode too. I did like episode 20 way more. As far as entertainment value and everything goes. So yeah, this one, the bank robbery thing, I think we need to get away from Herman doing these robbery scenarios. Like,
yeah, it has been a couple in a row, just him bumbling into the situations.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this episode. What about you, Tivis?
I drank a Mountain Dew today, and now it's coming back to bite me. Yeah, these were like, this one I had fun with as well. The whole trapped in the bank vault was just great. The interactions between Lily and Herman, I loved how annoyed she was because he screwed up, and he rightly so, she should be. And now I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, it's just a mess today. But these were two amazing episodes back to back. And I feel like I say this a lot, but this is a real fun one for me.
Yeah.
I think it's just this show in general. It's just so good.
It's the show, man. I think we've said before, we're both not like super fanatics of the Munsters in any way. Like, we don't know, you go to this episode at this second and watch this part, to see this one quote or whatever. We're not that super into it as yet, like we had said in the very first episode.
We couldn't be one of the people on Beat the Geeks.
Right. So, and if you have joined us and you never listened to our intro talking about how we feel of the Munsters and what our ideas are of the Munsters moving forward and everything, go back and listen to episode 1 of the Munster Cast. In there, we talk about the first episode of the Munsters, but we also do an intro to ourselves, so you can hear a little bit more about us and our thought process on the Munsters and everything. And we really want to be able to give everyone a good show and, express our feelings, because some of these episodes are first time views for us, or, we just don't remember them from childhood. So it's a nice thing to go through that and to grow our love of the Munsters, as I feel I am every time I watch a new episode. I'm like enjoying it more and more and more. And I used to enjoy this show all the time as a kid. So it was always Munsters over Addams Family for me. But and I'm not just saying that because we do a freaking Munsters cast. So
I'm personally watching both, and I will still happily pick Munsters over Addams.
Yeah. All right. So any last words today, Matt?
Just one little bit of trivia for this one.
Okay.
While he's dreaming, Herman tells Zaza Gabor to stand in line with the rest of the girls. Gabor was a well-known actress for her extravagant lifestyle, glamorous personality, and 9 husbands.
Yeah.
So that might have been the one that made Lily sit up straight.
Awesome. What was your thoughts on this episode? I think you said already, didn't you?
Yeah, we already did that.
Okay. I didn't know
Are you
if I
sleeping now?
You. I didn't know if I asked you. Because I said a bunch of other stuff too. Well,
holy cow, you need sleep, dude.
Yeah, I do. I got up super early today too and started working before we did this. So final words for the show, man, for this episode of this podcast.
Again, I'm just so grateful that we're doing this and people are actually interested. This is just fun, and I hope people are having fun with us.
Yes, we appreciate everybody that does listen, does follow us, does everything, and we hope that we're entertaining you guys and maybe giving you guys some flashbacks of either childhood when you watch these specific episodes, or getting you back into the routine of going through and rewatching some of these episodes. So,
or getting you hyped for the upcoming Rob Zombie movie.
Yeah. I still haven't read a whole lot for it, but we'll figure it out as we start seeing some footage. Again, everybody, we appreciate you and we thank you. And you can email us if you want at TheMunsterCast@outlook.com, and just find us on all the socials and YouTube at TheMunsterCast. Last thing, Tivis.
I hope everyone's 2022 is starting off good.
Awesome. With that said, we will catch you next time as we take another stroll down 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
The lesson I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall or short, or fat or thin, or ugly, or handsome, like your father. Or you can be black or yellow or white. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the size of your heart and the strength of your character.